For years, a beautiful horse lived in chains, trapped and forgotten with no hope of freedom. But when a determined man stepped in, his act of kindness sparked a chain of events no one could have imagined. What this horse did, after his rescue, left everyone speechless. Join us on this emotional journey of redemption, resilience, and the unbreakable bond between man and horse. The late afternoon sun cast golden rays across the countryside. As Daniel drove down a narrow dirt road, his truck bounced gently over the uneven terrain. A seasoned rancher and animal lover, he often found solace in these quiet drives through the fields and farmlands. But today was different. Today, something would catch his eye that would change everything. As he rounded a bend, Daniel's gaze fell on a dilapidated property. Overgrown weeds tangled with rusty fences, and the faint smell of neglect lingered in the air. What truly caught his attention, however, was the sight of a horse tethered to a post near the edge of the property. The animal stood, motionless, its head hung low, the outline of its ribs stark against its thin frame. Daniel stopped the truck abruptly, his heart sinking at the sight. Grabbing his hat, he stepped out, the dry grass crunching beneath his boots. As he approached, the scene became even more heartbreaking. The horse's coat was matted and dull, its legs caked in mud, and its mane tangled with debris. Heavy chains bound the animal's neck, tethering it to the post so tightly that it could barely move. The horse lifted its head slightly as Daniel neared, its dark eyes meeting his with a mix of fear and resignation. "Hey there, buddy," Daniel said softly. Crouching a few feet away, he could see the years of neglect etched into the horse's fragile body and in the defeated look in its eyes. It wasn't just physical. This animal had given up hope. A sharp voice interrupted his thoughts. "What do you think you're doing?" An older man, gruff and unkempt, emerged from the shadows of the rundown house nearby. Daniel rose to his full height, meeting the man's glare. "This horse is in terrible condition," he said firmly, gesturing toward the animal. "How long has it been like this?" The man scoffed, crossing his arms. "That horse is no good. I tried training it years ago, but it's useless. Just eats and stands around. I don't have the time or money to deal with it." Daniel's jaw tightened, anger bubbling beneath his calm demeanor. He glanced back at the horse, now looking at him with cautious curiosity. "Let me take him," Daniel said after a moment. "You don't want him?" The man hesitated, eyeing Daniel suspiciously. "What's in it for me?" "I'll pay you," Daniel replied, pulling out his wallet. "Name your price." After a tense exchange, the man grudgingly accepted, muttering something about how Daniel was wasting his money. Daniel didn't care. He was focused on the horse, now his responsibility. It took over an hour to cut through the heavy chains. With a bolt cutter Daniel retrieved from his truck, the horse flinched at every sound, but remained mostly still as if it understood that freedom was near. When the chains finally fell to the ground with a loud clang, the horse took a hesitant step forward, its muscles trembling from years of confinement. "You're free now," Daniel murmured gently, placing a hand on the horse's neck. The animal didn't pull away, though its body remained tense. "I'll call you Liberty," Daniel decided, the name symbolizing the new life awaiting the horse. With patience and care, Daniel led Liberty to the trailer attached to his truck. The horse hesitated at first, its movements uncertain, but with quiet encouragement, it finally stepped inside. As Daniel closed the gate, he felt a surge of determination. This was just the beginning. As the truck rumbled down the road, Liberty peered out through the slats of the trailer, the landscape blurring past. For the first time in years, the chains were gone, and though the road ahead was uncertain, a glimmer of hope began to stir. Daniel knew the journey ahead wouldn't be easy. Liberty had been broken physically and emotionally, but could love and patience restore what neglect had stolen? As they approached Daniel's ranch, he resolved to do whatever it took to give Liberty the life he deserved. The truck pulled into Daniel's ranch as the first stars began to dot the evening sky. Liberty stood motionless in the trailer, his gaunt frame illuminated by the soft glow of the barn lights. Daniel parked and stepped out, taking a moment to steady himself. He knew the road ahead would be long, but he was determined to give Liberty the second chance he deserved. Daniel opened the trailer carefully, speaking in soothing tones. "All right, buddy, we're home. Let's get you settled." Liberty hesitated, his ears twitching nervously as Daniel gently tugged the lead rope. With a cautious step, the horse descended, his hooves clicking softly on the ramp. He stopped and looked around, his dark eyes scanning the unfamiliar surroundings. Daniel led Liberty to an empty stall, freshly bedded with soft hay. "Here you go," he said, guiding the horse inside. Liberty sniffed the air, his nostrils flaring as he took in the unfamiliar scents. His movements were slow and deliberate, each step revealing the toll that years of neglect had taken on his body. The veterinarian, Dr. Harris, arrived shortly after, a kind-eyed woman with years of experience. She approached Liberty with quiet professionalism. "He's in rough shape," she said, running her hands gently over the horse's skeletal frame. "Severely malnourished and dehydrated, and his hooves are a mess. But his heart and lungs sound strong. With proper care, he has a chance." Daniel nodded, absorbing her words. "What do we need to do?" Dr. Harris outlined a plan, a gradual reintroduction of proper nutrition to avoid complications, regular hoof care, and a careful regimen of exercise once Liberty regains strength. "The most important thing is patience," she said. "He's been through a lot. It's going to take time." Over the next few days, Daniel dedicated himself entirely to Liberty's care. He began with small, frequent meals of high-quality feed, ensuring the horse's fragile digestive system wasn't overwhelmed. Liberty ate cautiously at first, his movements tentative as if he didn't trust the food to keep coming. But as the days passed, his appetite grew, and so did his energy. The bond between Daniel and Liberty began to form slowly. Daniel spent hours sitting outside the stall, reading aloud or simply talking to the horse in a low, soothing voice. Liberty would watch him, his ears flicking in curiosity. Though he kept his distance, it was clear the horse had learned to expect the worst from humans, and Daniel was determined to change that. One afternoon, as Daniel was cleaning the stall, Liberty did something unexpected. He took a step forward, closing the gap between them. Daniel froze, his heart pounding as Liberty extended his neck, his soft nose brushing against Daniel's shoulder. It was a small gesture, but to Daniel, it felt monumental. "You're starting to trust me," he murmured, resisting the urge to move too quickly. "That's a good boy." The physical improvements came gradually. Liberty's coat began to shine as he gained weight, and regular grooming sessions helped to restore his once neglected mane and tail. The farrier worked tirelessly to trim and reshape Liberty's hooves, which had grown brittle and uneven from years of neglect. With each passing week, Liberty's posture improved, and he began to move with a newfound confidence. Emotionally, the change was even more profound. Liberty, once withdrawn and wary, started seeking out Daniel's presence. He would nicker softly when Daniel entered the barn and lower his head for scratches, his dark eyes reflecting a growing sense of peace. One evening, as Daniel sat in the pasture watching Liberty graze under the setting sun, he felt a deep sense of fulfillment. The horse that had once been a symbol of despair was now a picture of resilience. But Daniel knew their journey was far from over. Liberty had come a long way, but the scars of his past still lingered. The next steps would test them both in ways they couldn't yet imagine. As Liberty continued to heal, Daniel began to wonder if the horse could ever truly overcome his past. Could Liberty's spirit be fully restored? And what unexpected challenges would arise as they worked toward a brighter future together? The first rays of morning sunlight streamed through the barn's open door, casting a golden glow over Liberty as he stood in his stall. His coat, once dull and matted, now gleamed with a faint sheen of health. Daniel leaned against the stall door, sipping his coffee, a small smile playing on his lips. Each day brought small victories, but today he had something new in mind. "All right, buddy," Daniel said, setting his mug aside. "It's time to stretch those legs a bit more." Over the past weeks, Daniel had been gradually introducing Liberty to the open pastures. At first, the horse hesitated, unsure of the vast space and freedom after years of confinement. But now, Liberty would walk calmly by Daniel's side, his steps more confident with each outing. Today, Daniel planned to let Liberty explore the pasture alone for the first time. Leading Liberty to the gate, Daniel unlatched the rope and stepped back. The horse hesitated, his ears swiveling as he looked between Daniel and the open field. "Go on," Daniel encouraged, his voice steady. "This is all yours." Liberty took a tentative step forward, his hooves sinking slightly into the soft grass. Then, another step and another. Slowly, he ventured farther from Daniel, his head lifting as he took in the expanse of the pasture. For a moment, Liberty simply stood there, the wind ruffling his mane. Before breaking into a cautious trot, Daniel watched, his chest swelling with pride as Liberty began to explore. Something remarkable happened. He paused, sniffing at the ground, then broke into a canter. His legs moved with a grace and power that seemed almost instinctual, as though he was remembering a part of himself that had been long buried. Daniel could hardly believe his eyes. "That's it, boy," he whispered. "You're free now." From a distance, Claire, a neighbor and fellow horse enthusiast, approached the fence. "He looks incredible," she said, leaning against the wooden rails. "I can't believe he's the same horse you brought here." Daniel nodded, his eyes never leaving Liberty. "He's got a long way to go, but he's getting there every day. He shows me how much heart he has." As the days turned into weeks, Liberty's strength continued to grow. Daniel introduced him to new experiences, walking over small obstacles, navigating uneven terrain, and responding to gentle commands. Each challenge was met with hesitation at first, but Liberty always pushed through, his trust in Daniel acting as his guide. One afternoon, while working in the paddock, Daniel decided to try something new. He retrieved an old saddle from the barn, its leather worn but sturdy, and approached Liberty, letting the horse sniff the saddle before placing it gently on his back. Liberty flinched, his muscles tensing under the unfamiliar weight. "It's okay, buddy," Daniel murmured, running his hand along Liberty's neck. "We'll take this slow." Over the next several days, Daniel worked patiently to acclimate Liberty to the saddle. At first, it was just placing the saddle on his back for a few minutes at a time. Then, Daniel began to tighten the girth, always careful to move at Liberty's pace. The horse's progress was remarkable. By the end of the week, Liberty stood calmly, the saddle securely fastened, his trust in Daniel evident in his relaxed posture. The real test came when Daniel decided to mount him for the first time. With Claire standing by for support, Daniel carefully placed his foot in the stirrup and swung himself into the saddle. Liberty shifted slightly but didn't panic. Daniel sat still for a moment, letting the horse adjust to the new weight. "You're doing great," Daniel said, his voice steady. He gave Liberty a gentle nudge, and the horse began to walk, his steps cautious but controlled. Daniel felt a swell of emotion. This wasn't just about riding. It was about reclaiming the spirit that neglect had tried to crush. As Daniel and Liberty moved through the paddock, Claire wiped a tear from her cheek. "You've given him his life back," she said softly. Daniel smiled, his hands steady on the reins. "No, he's the one who's teaching me." As Liberty continued to surpass expectations, Daniel began to wonder if the horse's journey could inspire others. What if Liberty's story was just the beginning of something bigger, a chance to show the world the power of resilience and love? The sun hung low in the sky, painting the pasture in hues of gold as Daniel watched Liberty gallop freely, his movements powerful and unrestrained. It was hard to believe that just weeks ago, the same horse had been chained and lifeless. Liberty's recovery was nothing short of miraculous, and Daniel felt a deep sense of pride and gratitude for the journey they had shared. One evening, as Daniel tended to Liberty in the barn, his neighbor Claire arrived holding a flyer. "There's a charity event happening in town," she said, handing it to him. "They're raising awareness about animal rescues, and I think Liberty's story could make a real impact." Daniel studied the flyer. The event was a showcase for rescue animals, aimed at promoting their stories and inspiring others to adopt and care for neglected animals. "You think we're ready for something like this?" Daniel asked, glancing at Liberty. Claire smiled. "Look at him. He's not just ready. He's a testament to what love and patience can do." The weeks leading up to the event were a whirlwind of preparation. Daniel worked with Liberty daily, refining his commands and ensuring the horse was comfortable in new environments. He introduced Liberty to the trailer again, this time for shorter trips around the ranch, gradually building his confidence for the big day. One afternoon, Claire brought over a photographer to document Liberty's transformation, the before and after. Shots were staggering. The gaunt, broken animal from months ago now stood tall and proud, his coat gleaming in the sunlight. "These photos will help tell his story," Claire said. "People need to see what's possible when you give an animal a second chance." When the day of the event arrived, Daniel felt a mix of excitement and nerves. The fairgrounds were bustling with activity vendors, families, and animal enthusiasts filled the space. Daniel and Liberty waited near the entrance, the horse standing calmly by his side. As they were announced, the crowd quieted, and Daniel led Liberty into the main arena. The spotlight fell on them, and for a moment, Daniel felt the weight of the journey they had undertaken together. Taking a deep breath, he began to speak. "This is Liberty," Daniel said, his voice steady but emotional. "When I found him, he was chained and forgotten, left to waste away. He had every reason to give up, but he didn't. With time, care, and trust, he found his strength again. Today, he's not just a survivor, he's an inspiration." The audience erupted in applause, and Liberty, as if understanding the moment, let out a soft nicker, his ears pricking forward. Daniel walked Liberty through the arena, demonstrating the progress they had made together. Liberty responded to every cue with calm precision, his trust in Daniel evident in every step. After their presentation, dozens of people approached Daniel to learn more about Liberty's story. Some shared their own experiences with rescue animals, while others simply marveled at the bond between the man and the horse. "You've given him a second chance at life," one woman said, tears in her eyes, "and he's given us all hope." As the event wound down, Daniel reflected on how far they had come. Liberty had not only reclaimed his spirit, but had also become a symbol of resilience and transformation. The photos, the presentation, and the connections they made that day were just the beginning of Liberty's impact on the world. That night, back at the ranch, Daniel sat by the pasture, watching Liberty graze under the stars. "You did well today," he said softly. Liberty lifted his head, his dark eyes meeting Daniel's with a quiet understanding. At that moment, Daniel realized that Liberty's story wasn't just about saving a horse. It was about the lessons they could share with the world. As Daniel drifted to sleep that night, an idea began to form. What if Liberty's journey could reach even more people? What if this was the start of something even greater, a way to inspire change and bring hope to animals and humans alike? The morning light broke over the ranch, and Daniel stood by the fence, watching Liberty trot gracefully across the pasture. The horse had come a long way, but Daniel's mind was already turning to what could be next. The charity event had sparked something, a realization that Liberty's story had the power to inspire more than just those who had attended. It was a story that could reach far beyond their small town. Later that day, Claire arrived with her laptop in hand. "You need to see this," she said, setting it on the kitchen table. She opened a local news website, and there on the front page was an article about Liberty's journey, complete with photos from the event. The headline read, "From Chains to Freedom, the inspiring story of Liberty, the rescued horse." The story had already garnered hundreds of shares and comments. People from across the region were expressing their admiration and gratitude for Daniel's dedication. "This horse is a symbol of hope," one commenter wrote. "Thank you for showing what love and patience can do." Claire leaned back in her chair, smiling. "This is just the beginning. You could take the story even further, maybe start a blog or a social media page. People love to see these transformations, and Liberty could be a voice for other animals in need." Daniel hesitated. He wasn't one for technology or public attention, but the idea of using Liberty's journey to help other animals resonated deeply. "You think people would care enough to follow along?" he asked. Claire nodded. "They already do. Look at the response from the event. This isn't just about Liberty. It's about the message he represents." That evening, Daniel sat outside with Liberty, his mind racing with possibilities. The horse stood close, his calm presence grounding Daniel's thoughts. "What do you think?" "Buddy," Daniel murmured, stroking Liberty's mane. "Are you ready to be a star?" The next morning, with Claire's help, Daniel created a social media page titled Liberty's Journey. They uploaded photos and videos of Liberty's transformation from the day he was rescued to his triumphant showcase performance. Daniel wrote heartfelt captions, sharing the challenges and victories they had experienced. Within days, the page began to gain traction. Messages poured in from people inspired by Liberty's story. Some shared their own experiences with rescue animals, while others simply expressed their gratitude for the reminder that compassion could change lives. "Your story has given me hope," one message read. "Thank you for showing that even the most broken can heal." As Liberty's story spread, opportunities began to arise. A regional animal welfare organization reached out, inviting Daniel and Liberty to speak at a larger event. Schools and community groups asked if they could visit the ranch to meet Liberty and learn about his journey. Daniel, though overwhelmed at first, embraced the chance to make a difference. One afternoon, a group of children from a local school visited the ranch. Daniel introduced them to Liberty, who stood patiently as the children gently stroked his coat and fed him treats. "This horse taught me something important," Daniel said, addressing the group. "No matter how hard life gets, there's always a chance to start over. You just need someone to believe in you." The children listened intently, their eyes wide with wonder. As they left, one young girl turned to Daniel and said, "I want to help animals like you do someday." Daniel felt a lump in his throat, realizing the ripple effect Liberty's story was creating. Back at the house, Claire handed Daniel a notebook. "You should start writing everything down," she suggested. "Who knows? Maybe one day this will be a book." Daniel chuckled but took the notebook. That night, as he sat at the kitchen table, he began to write. The words flowed easily, recounting the day he first saw Liberty and the journey that had followed. Each page was a testament to the power of resilience, trust, and love. As Liberty's story continued to spread, Daniel received a call that would change everything. A major network wanted to feature them in a documentary. Could their journey inspire even more people? And what new challenges would arise as Liberty's story reached a global audience? The call came on a quiet afternoon as Daniel sat on the porch, sipping coffee and watching Liberty graze in the pasture. When the phone rang, he almost didn't answer, assuming it was another telemarketer. But something made him pick up, and what he heard on the other end left him speechless. "This is Maria Delgado from Horizon Network." The voice said warmly, "We've heard about Liberty's incredible journey, and we'd love to feature you both in an upcoming documentary about animal rescues." Daniel gripped the phone tightly, unsure of what to say. A documentary. His nerves were palpable, but he knew this was an opportunity to amplify Liberty's story and inspire even more people. Over the next few weeks, a production crew visited the ranch, capturing footage of Liberty's daily life and conducting interviews with Daniel and Claire. They filmed everything from Liberty's quiet moments in the pasture to his interactions with visiting children. The crew was particularly captivated by the before and after photos, which highlighted just how far Liberty had come. The filming process was both exhausting and exhilarating. Daniel found himself reflecting deeply on their journey as he answered the crew's questions. "When I first saw him, I didn't know if he'd make it," he said during one interview. "But Liberty showed me that even the most broken spirits can heal with love and patience." Claire also shared her perspective, emphasizing the ripple effect Liberty's story had created. "It's not just about one horse," she said. "It's about believing in second chances for animals and for people." The crew captured one particularly emotional moment when Liberty, now fully healthy and confident, allowed a small child to sit on his back for the first time. The boy's laughter filled the air, and Daniel couldn't help but smile. "That's what this is all about," he said softly. When the documentary aired a few months later, the response was overwhelming. Messages poured in from viewers around the world, moved by Liberty's transformation and the bond he shared with Daniel. Donations to local animal rescues skyrocketed, and several neglected horses found new homes as a result of the awareness the film had created. One day, Daniel received an envelope in the mail. Inside was a handwritten letter from a young woman named Emily, who had adopted a rescue horse after watching the documentary. "I wanted to thank you," she wrote. "Liberty's story gave me the courage to take in a horse who needed help. He's doing so well now, and I owe it all to you and Liberty." Daniel read the letter aloud to Claire, his voice thick with emotion. "This is why we did it," he said. "For stories like this." The ranch became a beacon of hope, with more visitors than ever stopping by to meet Liberty and learn about animal rescue. Daniel partnered with local organizations to host workshops and events, sharing his knowledge and encouraging others to take action. Liberty became a symbol of resilience, his story inspiring people to believe in second chances. As the years passed, Daniel continued to share Liberty's journey, always emphasizing the lessons they had learned together. One evening, as the sun set over the ranch, Daniel stood by the fence, watching Liberty graze. The horse lifted his head, his ears swiveling toward Daniel before trotting over. "You've done so much, buddy," Daniel said, his voice soft, more than I ever could have imagined. Liberty nuzzled Daniel's shoulder, a quiet acknowledgement of the bond they shared. In that moment, Daniel knew their story would live on, not just in the memories of those they had touched, but in every act of kindness inspired by their journey. Liberty's journey from despair to hope became a global phenomenon, proving that love, trust, and patience could overcome even the deepest scars. Daniel's dedication and Liberty's resilience left an indelible mark on the world, reminding everyone that second chances are always worth fighting for. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to keep spreading messages of hope and transformation. Let's continue to make a difference, one life at a time.